Hello, everybody. It's me again, Randy Ray, the Literate Texan. It is Tag Tuesday, and I'm here for it. And I got tagged by my friend Greg at another Bibliophile Reads. The name of this tag is the I'll Get to It Later tag, I think. Yeah, I'll Get to It Later tag. I've got all the prompts written out here in front of me. He was tagged by Book Chat with Pat and Hannah's Books, which are both great channels that I will link to in the description down below. You should subscribe to both of them. They're absolutely terrific. Anyway, I'm just going to jump right into it, okay? Here are the prompts. I'll include the prompts in the description down below, too, so that you can do this tag as well on your channel. Number one, there are 8 prompts. Number one, a classic book that you have been meaning to read forever but haven't read yet. Now, the tempting, I'm gonna cheat here. I'm gonna use 2. The tempting choice is Proust, In Search of Lost Time, which, of course, if you saw my video yesterday, you know that we're doing a year of Proust in 2025. I'm co-hosting the event with Greg. I will link to that video below, and you can find out more about it if this is one that you've always meant to read. It's really long. That's what I know about it. That's most of what I know about it. But I did choose another one. Let's see. I've got a stack of books over here for this. The one that I've really been meaning to read forever here is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Okay, so I've been told, I don't know how many times, that this is really terrific. I guess this was partially the inspiration for The Shawshank Redemption, which is one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite Stephen King stories. This edition is one of those pseudo-fancy editions from Barnes & Noble that costs next to nothing but looks really expensive. I don't think it's really as well made as you might think. I didn't look like it's going to fall apart either. So, but it's got little end papers here. And that's kind of pretty, And I think it's got, yeah, it sure does. It's got the little cloth bookmark in it. It kind of folds in there. You know what one of those looks like. You've seen them before. Anyway, as with Proust, this is long, but it's not as long as Proust. It's 1,000 pages. 1,062 pages, something like that. But Proust is 3,700 pages, That's like 3.5 times Count of Monte Cristo. But those are my 2 choices for classic book that you've been meaning to read forever but haven't read yet. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas and In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust. The first volume of that is called Swan's Way, which is the one that I was holding up a minute ago. I'm pretty excited about tearing into that too. I just finished a book called Claire Reads Proust that I really liked. Fairly short novel, but it really helped get me. I don't think I learned much about Proust from it, but I didn't know much about Proust beforehand, so maybe I learned a lot for me. Everything's relative, right? That's what the hermeneutic spiral is all about, in my opinion. But maybe I'll make a video about the hermeneutic spiral. You guys know my joke about hermeneutics, right? People ask, who's hermeneutics? And I tell them he's the new linebacker for the New England Patriots. My college professor told that joke. It wasn't any funnier in 1988 than it is now. Number 2, a book on your shelf that you haven't read yet. So this applies to a lot of the books on my shelves, but I went ahead and chose for this one Comanche Moon by Larry McMurtry just because I love the cover so much and I wanted to show it off. It's the final volume of the Lonesome Dove saga by Larry McMurtry. From what I understand, from no less an authority than Steve Donahue, the sequels and prequels to Lonesome Dove are nowhere near as good as Lonesome Dove itself. But Lonesome Dove was so good, it's hard to not want more. But anyway, how beautiful is that cover art? And I don't remember if this is a prequel or a sequel. Comanche Moon by Larry McMurtry, a brilliant and haunting novel, richly capable of standing on its own, completes the author's epic 4-volume cycle of novels of the American West that began in 1985 with the Pulitzer Prize-winning masterpiece. We join Texas Rangers August McRae and Woodrow F. Call in their middle years, so it's a prequel, just beginning to deal with the perplexing tensions of adult life. Gus and his great love Clara Forsyth, Call and Maggie Tilton, the young whore who loves him, when they enlist with a ranger troop in pursuit of Buffalo Hump, the great Comanche war chief, Kicking Wolf, the celebrated Comanche horse thief, and a deadly Mexican bandit king with a penchant for torture. Is it pension or pensha? Everything sounds French to me these days since I've been thinking about Proust. Assisting the Rangers in their wild chase is the renowned Kickapoo Tracker, Famous Shoes. I love the names of the Indians in here. It's great. Comanche Moon joins the 20-year timeline between Dead Man's Walk and Lonesome Dove as we follow beloved heroes Gus and Call and their comrades in arms, Dietz, Jake Spoon, and P.I. Parker, in their bitter struggle to protect an advancing western frontier against the defiant Comanches, courageously determined to defend their territory and their way of life. Gus and Call, two proud but very different men, forge a lifelong bond in a story rich with characters, some new and some familiar. Man, sold. Of course, if you've read Lonesome Dove, you probably understand just what a great book that is. And that's one I put off for years and years, but I read it a couple of years ago for June on the Range. And sure enough, it was every bit as good as everybody had already told me. So that was a book on your shelf you haven't read yet, a book that you recently got that you haven't read yet. Okay, so for this one I chose P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Conley. This was my Book of the Month Club pick for November, which was last month. I still hadn't read it, so it's brand new. I like romantic comedies a lot. My daughter and I occasionally buddy read these, and we'll probably buddy read this one too, but here's what it says. In this splendidly bittersweet romantic comedy, and aren't all the best romantic comedies bittersweet, enemies forced together by a mutual loss are led on a cross-country journey toward a second chance. Maddie Sanderson, I love that. My daughter's name is Maddie. Maddie Sanderson would be proud to honor her older brother's dying wish that she scatter his ashes over 8 destinations that the adventurous 29-year-old never got to visit before he died from cancer. Hey, I have cancer. But in his will, Josh assigned her an impossible partner to help complete the mission, Dominic Perry. Seriously, if Maddie wasn't already at her brother's funeral, she would kill him for this. Sure, Dom was Josh's lifelong best friend. He's also the infuriating man who broke Maddie's heart back when she was naive enough to give it to him. But since Dom insists on following the rules, and Josh didn't leave much room for Maddie to argue the matter, they embarked together on a series of farewell trips that span thousands of miles, exploring new places and revisiting their complicated history along the way. After a snowstorm leads to a shared bed, Maddie starts to wonder if her brother might be matchmaking from the grave. That's a really morbid thought when you think about it. But when grief reopens old wounds between them, Maddie will need more than Josh's ghostly guidance to trust Dom again. So I'm looking forward to this. It's not going to hold any surprises, but it'll be a lot of fun to read. It'll be a good way to while away an afternoon. That was number 3, P.S. I Hate You. Number 4, a book you had forever but haven't read yet. So I've read parts of this. This is John Irving trying to save Piggy Sneed. Love John Irving. But this is a collection of multiple shorter writings. Usually when I'm reading John Irving, I'm looking for, something Dickens-esque, something long that covers the lifetime of a character. Oh, nice. Fresh bookmark in there. Trying to Save Piggy Sneed contains a dozen short works by John Irving, beginning with 3 memoirs, 2 of which, including an account of Mr. Irving's dinner with President Reagan at the White House, are new to American readers. The newest and longest of the memoirs, The Imaginary Girlfriend, is the core of this collection. The middle section of this book is fiction. In 28 years, John Irving has written 8 novels, but only a half a dozen short stories that he considers, quote, finished, unquote. They are all published here. In the third and final section are 3 essays of appreciation, 1 on Günter Grass and 2 on Charles Dickens. Irving would probably be really thrilled to hear me refer to him as a Dickens-esque author. To each of the 12 pieces, which cover 30 years of writing, Mr. Irving has contributed his author's notes. These notes provide some perspective on the circumstances surrounding the writing of each piece. For example, an election year diary of the Bush-Clinton campaigns accompanies Mr. Irving's memoir of his dinner with Ronald Reagan, and the notes to one of Irving's short stories explain that the story was presented and sold to Playboy as the work of a woman. Trying to Save Piggy Sneed is both as moving and as mischievous as readers would expect from the author of The World According to Garp, The Cider House Rules, A Prayer for Owen Meany, and A Son of the Circus. And Mr. Irving's concise autobiography, The Imaginary Girlfriend, is both a work of the utmost literary accomplishment and a paradigm for living. Man, so many books in so little time. Every one of these I pick up and read the description. I'm like, I need to go read this afternoon. Every one of these. And, you know, I'm reading against the clock because, you know, I wasn't kidding when I said I had cancer earlier. So anyway, the first memoir in here is called Trying to Save Piggy Sneed, which I've read before, and it's remarkably touching. I read all three of the memoirs in here before, but I haven't read any of the fiction, except I've read The Pension Grill Parcher. The Pension Grill Parcher was included in one of his novels. Here, very, very excited to get to this. Look for it on a future TBR. Oh, golly, there's more questions. Trying to Save Piggy Sneed by John Irving. That was that one. A book a friend recommended that you haven't read. Not only did my friend recommend this to me, but he bound it in goat skin for me. And there's no writing on this, but I just wanted to hold it up. It's bound in green leather. This is Camilla by Sheridan Lafanu, which I'm probably mispronouncing horribly, but look how beautiful this is. My friend bound this for me. He's a bookbinder. And I made some videos with him before. His name is Forrest. My understanding is this is a vampire tale that predates Dracula and has strong lesbian undertones or overtones. I don't know. Probably both. But at any rate, I haven't read it yet, and I should. I don't know when I'll get to it. I don't know why I've been putting it off. Sounds interesting enough. Number 6, a book you're procrastinating on. And then number 7 is the next book on your TBR. So here's one I've been procrastinating on. In January of this year, in February, I was reading biographies related to Cary Grant. I was on a Cary Grant kick. And this is Mark Elliott's biography of Cary Grant. And it's supposed to be one of the better ones. Esquire said it's a fascinating and thorough portrait. Elliott does a good job of cracking the screen fantasy. Highly readable, glimpses of the debonair leading man's dark side are the most intriguing elements of this welcome biography. That's People magazine. Keeping the actor's astonishing career firmly in view, Elliott assembles a portrait that shows the dark shadows behind the gleaming facade while also revealing Grant's own shrewdness in maintaining that fictional persona. That's from the Washington Post. Elliott gives us a Grant we've never fully glimpsed before, Vogue. And if you want to find out some more about the dark side of Cary Grant, his long-term lover and short-term wife and the father of his daughter, can't remember her name, she's a beautiful blonde woman, wrote a memoir about Cary called Dear Cary, and I read it. And you can definitely get a feel for the dark side of Cary Grant that is not reflective of what you see on screen. There was also a miniseries earlier this year, I think it was a 4-part miniseries, about their relationship that also picks up a lot of those dark themes about Cary Grant's real life. And it was largely based on that other memoir, which I read earlier this year. Diane Cannon, that's her name. I've got chemo brain and cancer brain, so things just don't come to me as often as I used to. And it's really frustrating because, believe it or not, I used to be a really sharp cookie. Anyway, this says it's rigorously researched, elegantly written. It is a complete, nuanced portrait of the greatest star in cinema history. Humphrey Bogart fans might disagree with that. Exploring Grant's troubled childhood, ambiguous sexuality, and lifelong insecurities, as well as the magical amalgam of characteristics that allowed him to remain Hollywood's favorite romantic lead for more than 35 years. Cary Grant is the definitive examination of every aspect of Grant's professional and private life, and the first biography to reveal the real man behind the movie star. I read somewhere, and I believe it was Diane Cannon, but a reporter had asked her if Cary Grant was bisexual, and she said, I don't know, I never had time to ask him, we were too busy fucking. I thought that was great. That's marvelous. The next book on my TBR. Okay, so I've got my TBR over here. I am going to finish this anthology here, American Christmas Stories, which I've been reading. It's a collection of 58 or 59 short stories edited and chosen by Connie Willis. Part religious observance and part commercial extravaganza, a gift basket of cultural customs from many nations. Christmas grew into its modern form in America. And over the last 150 years, the most magical time of the year has proven to be glad tidings for American writers. Library of America and acclaimed author Connie Willis invite you to unwrap this diverse collection of 59 enchanting and uniquely American stories about Christmas. Literary gems that will delight and surprise. Ranging from the advent of the American tradition of holiday storytelling in the wake of the Civil War to today, this is the biggest and best anthology of American Christmas stories ever assembled. I will agree that it's the biggest. It is not the best. I have the best on my TBR, which I'm going to talk about in my next video. But it is large. There's 59 stories in here. A lot of these don't even qualify as short stories, in my opinion. There's no real conflict. There's no real plot. A lot of these are just little 1- and 2-page vignettes. I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed in this anthology. Not enough to give it 2 stars, but it certainly won't be getting 3 stars. Some of the stories are good enough to warrant the 3 stars. Ghost stories and crime stories, science fiction, fantasy, westerns, humor, and horror. Tales of Christmas morning, trees, gifts, wise men, and family dinners everywhere from New York to Texas to outer space. This anthology is an epiphany. They're really overselling it here. Revealing the ways Christmas has evolved over time and how the spirit of the holiday has remained the same. So anyway, this isn't a terrible book, but I mean, it's not a 4 or 5 star book either. It's just not. But some of the stories in here have been great. Let me look at this table of contents and tell you some of the stories that I really liked in here that I would recommend to people. A lot of these stories have been printed elsewhere too. They're not unique or original to this book. But I did like, let's see here. William Dean's Howes has a story in here called Christmas Every Day. A story about a grandfather whose daughter wishes that it could be Christmas every day, and he tells her a fairy tale about a young woman who wished that it could be Christmas Day, and it came true and what the consequences were. That was a really cute story, and I really enjoyed it. That is, by the way, the 5th or 6th story in the book. The first 5 stories I wouldn't really recommend. After that is a story called Thurlow's Christmas Story, which I absolutely loved. It's not available online, but it is available, I think, in a book of Christmas mystery stories or something like that. That was written by John Kendrick Bangs, and I can't recommend that highly enough. It's a ghost story, and it's a really good ghost story. I thought, boy, that would be perfect for the Twilight Zone when I read it. Let's see here. Golly whiz. Yeah, a lot of these are just really kind of disappointing. Some of these are even a little bit depressing or sad or, some of these I'm just not thrilled about. Let's see here. James Thurber's A Visit from St. Nicholas was cute. I enjoyed that. Damon Runyon's The Three Wise Guys is a Christmas classic. You can probably find it in any number of anthologies, though. The Butler's Christmas Eve by Mary Roberts Reinhardt was excellent. That's also one you can find in a lot of crime story books. I kind of liked Santa Claus Came to La Cuchilla. That was neat. That's by Abelardo Diaz Alfaro. But at any rate, I'm going to finish this up today. I'm pretty far into it. I think I've got about 30 pages left. Where am I? On page 383. And there's 435. I've got about 50 pages left in this. So it'll probably take me about an hour to finish. Settle down, boy. My little dog's whining. He wants me to pay attention to him. So, and then number 8 is to tag some people. So I'm going to tag. I'm going to write these down so I can remember to put them in the description below. I'm going to tag Please Read Your Book, which is a terrific channel that probably doesn't have enough subscribers because I think everybody should be subscribing to Please Read Your Book. He's terrific. And then also James Ruchala. I'm tagging him because he's kind enough to tag me occasionally, even though I'm scarcely online anymore. Steve Donahue complains that he never gets tagged. So guess what, Steve? You've been tagged. Tag, you're it. That's 3. But even if I didn't tag you, you should feel free to do this tag video anyway if you want to, because these are really cool ways to attract attention to your site and kind of climb onto the buzz of something else. I'm probably going to create a new tag of my own pretty soon. But if you're interested in drawing more visitors and attention to your channel, this is a good way to do it. So, Randy Ray, the Literate Texan, with the Tag Tuesday, I'll get to it later tag. Thanks for tagging me, Greg. And until next time, please stay hydrated. Take it from me. The consequences can be severe. And also, stay sexy, folks. The consequences aren't as severe for that, but still.